Hello everyone, thanks for joining us on another educative edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Edwin Atkinson. Today is being observed as International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. So let us stand together as we rally to end these injustices. Today is also when we urge you to eat Jamaican. Let us embrace the rich and exquisite taste of our local produce. And of course, keep watching Jamaica Magazine. There's much more to come. Stay with us as we take you through another well-anticipated half hour.
Are you passionate about shaping the future of governance in Jamaica? Do you want to be part of a historic move to define the roles, responsibilities, and standards of conduct for our parliamentarians? The Joint Select Committee of Parliament, considering job descriptions, codes of conduct and performance standards for parliamentarians, is having a series of town hall meetings to get your insights on the roles, conduct and expectations of your elected representatives. Join the virtual town hall on the Zoom platform on November 30, 2023 at 6 p.m. You will have the opportunity to share your opinions, engage with members of the committee, and make your voice heard. Visit www.japarliament.gov.jm for further details. Let's work together to build a stronger Jamaica.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Sometimes sunny, sometimes rainy, but no matter the condition, we need to know the weather daily. As seasons change, we need to stay abreast of what the weather will be. The Meteorological Service has all the details to keep our lives afloat.
I'm Evan Thompson, Principal Director of the Meteorological Service. Well, the Meteorological Service is responsible for monitoring weather conditions around the island, also for coordinating the database that is holding meteorological data, and then, of course, addressing the needs of various client groups through the administration of that climate data. That's a very good question. The portfolio of meteorology, on just looking at it, you wouldn't think that it's too involved with national development. But the truth is, there is no sector in Jamaica that is responsible for any kind of development that does not depend on meteorological data. Everybody wants to know what the weather is or what the weather will be so that proper plans can be made and we can make sure that things are in place to handle any eventuality that is related to the weather. Okay, the Meteorological Service has operated for a number of years in Jamaica, and over the time of our existence, we have managed to develop our network of weather stations across the country, just so that we can properly monitor what is happening over the country and around the country. With technology, we have increased our surveillance of the conditions around the island through satellite technology. But then we also, across the island, have a number of weather stations, approximately 200 weather stations, both manual gauges as well as automatic gauges that bring in information to our offices to allow us to not only be monitoring, but also to use that in our forecasting of weather conditions. So that's one of the things that we have managed to achieve. Also, we have been able to communicate much more effectively to the public what is happening in terms of our climate, because we've been talking about the weather conditions, but where the climate is concerned, that's where people need to understand what kind of conditions are usual for our country to assist us in our development. For instance, in agriculture, we utilize that data to help people to make the kinds of plans and to focus their activities in areas that are beneficial to that kind of development. And so it's with the storage of weather data and, of course, the climate data that assists us to know what is likely to happen over a long period of time. Another thing that we have done is kind of pioneered the development of our climate change portfolio across the country, because climate change actually begins with not just the weather and not just the climate, but then we look at how the climate itself has been changing over time. And through that, we have gone into various arena to communicate what is happening in Jamaica with respect to the changing of our climate. And that's where our whole climate change portfolio has begun in the country, which has, of course, been multiplied in various ways and even taken up by other agencies within government. One of the things that we are pursuing is a further development of our observation platform across the island. So we've been talking a lot about the weather radar that we once had, and a mechanical radar developed, Doppler radar technology. And then with obsolescence of the technology in that respect, we have acquired a new Doppler radar that is being implemented in Jamaica. We've had some delays, but we are on target now to have that installed and commissioned within this financial year in government. So we will soon have the ability to further enhance our observation of weather conditions and even our short-term forecasting by doing what we call nowcasting. We can predict thunderstorm activity where lightning strikes would take place in a short term when clouds develop. And that is one of the main positives with the development of radar technology. Another thing that we have had on our agenda is the development of meteorological legislation, because we recognize there is no real legislation that guides how meteorology is handled in Jamaica. So we are putting forward that policy within the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, which is our parent ministry. We're ensuring that we are able to basically set the framework for how meteorology is handled and how it is administered and who has the authority for the administration of certain aspects of meteorology. The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the Meteorological Service, is ensuring the safety of all Jamaicans through the development of weather and climate services for all our people.
Up next.
Climate change impacts every aspect of our lives. You know, whether you are at work, at play, or just at home, whether you are eating, drinking.
Did you know that there are different phases one might experience if they have contracted dengue? The government has been spreading awareness about the different ways to protect yourself from mosquito bites and not even experience what comes with dengue fever.
Dengue fever is a vector-borne disease carried by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It is caused by the flavivirus and occurs in either a mild or severe form in tropical and subtropical areas of the world. Globally, 50 to 100 million cases of dengue are seen yearly.
Dengue is endemic to Jamaica, meaning that since its introduction in 1977, we have cases that occur every year. The cases of dengue fever, including severe dengue, can occur at any time throughout the year. An outbreak is declared when the number of cases increase above the usual that is expected for that time of the year.
Dengue is transmitted to humans by the bite of the infected female mosquito. Symptoms typically begin 3 to 14 days after someone gets infected with the virus. Symptoms can last from 2 to 7 days.
The incubation period is usually 4 to 10 days, and illness begins abruptly, and there are essentially 3 phases of the illness. First phase is where you have the fever. The second phase that you can go into is a critical phase, and then you have a recovery phase.
Over 70% of persons who contract the disease usually experience mild symptoms. Persons affected by the mild form of the disease may experience fever of 40 degrees Celsius or higher, headache, muscle pain, and bone and joint pain. Some people may also experience nausea, pain behind the eyes, swollen glands, vomiting, sore throat, rash, and diarrhea.
So you can see that it's a range of symptoms that can present, and therefore when you initially present with dengue, it may be seen as different illnesses. It may be seen as gastroenteritis, it may be seen as an upper respiratory tract infection, or it can be seen as dengue fever.
To be on the safe side and put speculations aside, persons who start experiencing symptoms are advised to visit their health facility or doctor for medical advice and treatment. If indeed you have dengue, do not self-medicate with treatments that can worsen your illness or cause bleeding. So be sure to have a discussion about dengue with your doctor. The Health Ministry says doctors who recognize the presence of a fever should also have a high suspicion for dengue and treat with the necessary precautions. For mild cases of dengue, persons may treat themselves at home with specific types of over-the-counter medications, but heed the warning.
Fever and pain to the joints, pain to the muscles, must be treated with only medications that have cetamol, paracetamol, and Panadol. You can also use tepid sponging, fan therapy, and increased fluid to assist with decreasing the fever. Do not use medications that contain aspirin and other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen and diclofenac. You must read your labels carefully. If you are unsure, consult your pharmacist or your doctor before using the medication.
The drugs you should not take while experiencing dengue have been known to cause and/or worsen bleeding and increase the severity of the disease. Besides the mild form of dengue, persons can also experience a more severe form called dengue hemorrhagic fever, which is a rare complication of the illness that can lead to death. Usually the fever that comes with dengue lasts for about 5 days, and it is usually when the fever is going away that persons tend to worsen. Warning signs include persons not eating, experiencing persistent vomiting, lethargy, restlessness, shortness of breath, pain in the abdomen, or tenderness in the abdomen. Persons should also look out for signs of bleeding.
Those signs of bleeding can include bleeding from the gums, bleeding in the urine, it can be bleeding in the stool. Usually though, when you start getting bleeding in the stool, in the urine and stuff, you have reached a severe point.
It is important to note that a case of severe dengue can occur without symptoms of bleeding. Also, in a case of severe dengue, there may be difficulty in maintaining hemodynamics, in which a person's blood pressure tends to drop suddenly and circulation to vital organs is affected.
With dengue, fluid tends to seep from the blood vessels to the outside of the vessels, meaning that there is decreased blood flow to vital organs. And that is why you get the symptoms of lethargy and restlessness and pain in the abdomen. What those signs are signs of decreased perfusion to the brain. It means that enough fluid is not going to the brain because persons are dehydrated. Okay? The dehydration and the signs of dehydration are very important to treat.
Persons are warned to not wait for these signs and instead go to the doctor or hospital early. People with chronic illnesses such as sickle cell are at a greater risk of experiencing severe dengue. These individuals must use precaution when taking their medications.
If you have a chronic illness that you may be taking medications for and you think that there may be some interference with dengue, you must speak to your doctor to decide whether or not you should continue to take these medications.
In order to effectively combat and limit the spread of dengue and other mosquito-transmitted illnesses, persons must eliminate mosquito breeding sites in their surroundings. Breeding sites include old tires, laundry tanks, dish drainers, covered tanks or cisterns, drums and barrels, discarded buckets and containers. Other sources are pet dishes, construction blocks, bottles, discarded tin cans, tree holes and bamboo, bottle pieces on top of walls, old shoes and flower pots. Mosquitoes can also breed in discarded toys, roof guttering, bromeliad plants, garden containers and tools, brick holes and unmaintained wading or swimming pools. Where water is stored for use, the containers must be properly covered and sealed against mosquito entry. The use of mosquito repellents containing DEET and long-sleeved clothing are also recommended for personal protection. For more information, please contact the Ministry of Health, 10 to 16 Grenada Way, Kingston 5. Call them at 876-633-8172, 876-633-7771. Information is on the web at moh.gov.jm and contact can be made by email pr@moh.gov.jm or on social media.
I'm sure my neighbors hear the screams and cries.
I'm sure by now they've seen the bruises through my oversized glasses.
Can they tell I'm depressed when we speak?
Are they counting my frequent days off from work?
Domestic violence is any pattern of behavior used by an individual to maintain control or power over another. Domestic violence is not just physical, it can also be verbal. If you're in a relationship where you are being abused or know of anyone, get out and speak up. Report domestic violence by calling 119 or the nearest police station. Get out before someone puts you out.
Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. These are wise words coming from the philosophy of Martin Luther King Jr. As we observe the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, remember, we all need strong support systems. The government of Jamaica is doing its part to ensure victims of gender-based violence find a safer environment. Here is how.
The findings from the Gender Assessment Report are commensurate with the community outreach focus of the Bureau of Gender Affairs and the lived experiences of numerous families. The report highlights data produced from the Bureau of Gender Affairs and Statin, which show that 1 in every 4 Jamaican women experience physical violence from a male partner. It also shows that young women, 15 to 24 years, are vulnerable to sexual violence, and this is among girls/women with little to no education and who live with their partners from an early age. It also identified that victims/survivors of GBV and their children tend to experience worse educational and health outcomes in their lifetime. A very practical response to the gender-based violence prevalence data is the development of the draft National Shelter Strategy. Through the implementation of the strategy, we launched what we call the Continuum of Care for Survivors of Gender-Based Violence. And this clearly outlines the roles and responsibilities of the participating organizations or agencies to ensure the seamless process for care of the victims. A memorandum of understanding was signed between specific ministries, departments, and agencies to aid in this initiative. So from the moment we get the call through to taking that victim or survivor to a safe place, there is a seamless pathway between the agencies and the entities that are involved in that process. The Bureau of Gender Affairs is in partnership with the Spotlight Initiative to coordinate the implementation of the National Shelter Strategy. The first national government-owned and operated shelter in the Northeast region and a regional shelter in the Eastern region to provide rescue, psychosocial support, restoration, and skills building. The next would be renovation and retrofitting of one additional property to serve as the Western Regional Shelter. And I'm really happy to announce that the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service has allocated $50 million to complete the renovation and retrofitting of this regional shelter in the West for victims and survivors of gender-based violence. And we should have that shelter ready sometime late this year. Revision of the Domestic Violence Act to provide increased support to victims and survivors. That's another area, and I am happy to report that we signed off on the final drafting of the amendments to the Domestic Violence Act, and we will be taking it to Parliament in the first quarter of the 2023-24 fiscal year. So we will have those amendments come into effect early this year. We're going to be ramping up the community outreach through Partnership for Empowerment initiative to provide financial support to NGOs and community advocacy groups as partners to address GBV. And so far, we have 16 partners across the island, and they also form that network that help us to ensure that we can protect our women. Development of knowledge products on gender-based violence is another area. So we have prepared information in Braille for the blind and voice training for empowerment and self-efficacy skills. We'll also establish gender-based violence helplines. The helpline unit is actually up and running, and the training of social workers and counselors.
The Jamaican culinary platter is made of mouth-watering dishes that will have you wanting more. It's even better when the ingredients are sourced locally, ensuring fresh, nutritious crops while supporting our farmers. On this Eat Jamaican Day, how about creating some delectable homemade dishes that will entice your appetite?
Fruits are sources of many essential nutrients like potassium, dietary fiber, vitamin C, and folate. And it's best to have it at the beginning of the day. So starting off today's entree is a fruit platter being prepared by
Chef Dennis Osborne from B&E Caterers and Restaurant Limited. All right, so we'll be going right ahead. We'll be peeling to just create a simple design on the plate here. So we'll be having our pawpaw as well, promoting healthy eating. Over here we are using a kringle cutter just to get it fancy. All these fruits that we have here, it's straight from the backyard, straight onto our plate right here. Here you go, perfect fruit platter within 5 minutes or less.
Food security will allow Jamaica to provide adequate and a safe supply of food for everyone, like the fruit platter seen here. Cultivating the food or fruits you love will not only add to food production, but make it more accessible. And if fruits are not your forte,
next on the menu, we'll be moving straight to our fresh salad. So here again, we're making a fresh salad, a green salad. So everything is straight from the backyard, and we'll be going ahead by just making some green vegetables. So we have our romaine lettuce, we have our iceberg lettuce, our cucumber, our carrot, our green tomatoes, and our little cherry plum tomatoes as well. Started right here. So peeling our carrots, getting it all ready for show. Okay. So we're having the carrot just for color, and carrot also is very healthy and good for us. Let's make some random chops in them. we can just drizzle with some olive oil, or we can add some fresh vinegar to it as well for that tangy taste. But I mean, look at it, it's as beautiful as it gets.
To top it off, you can add peanuts, cashew, or cranberries that are rich in vitamins and minerals. Just another way to make your taste buds scream.
What's next on the menu is stuffed chicken breast with callaloo and stuffed tilapia fish with callaloo as well. So we finally chop in a clove of garlic. There we go. Add it to our pot and prepare in our callaloo as well. We're adding some carrot also to it for color. Some fine cubes within 5 minutes. It is all ready to go. Just a pinch of salt. So we're gonna go ahead and prepare our fire for the chicken breast. So we had a knob of butter in it. This is our chicken breast. We're lightly seasoned. Salt and black pepper. Create a pocket inside our chicken breast here. We're gonna be adding our callaloo to the pot in just a bit. This will literally take 10 minutes in the pot, 5 minutes on either side. And then we are ready. You know we have to have some garlic as well in the oil to flavor it. It is very, very good. You know, we Jamaican, we grew up on garlic. So first thing you stick, grab a garlic. We're gonna stuff our tilapia while that chicken is getting seared. Here's a tilapia here, so we're gonna be putting a knob of butter as well because we don't want it to be sticking in it, so the butter helps to moisturize it. So this is a perfect way to seal your tilapia and shove it in the ovens. We went ahead and blanched our vegetables, so just in our vegetables here. Adding a sprig of thyme as well. Also some fresh parsley. Let it rest for 2 minutes.
Grab your chicken, slice as desired, and voila!
Stuffed chicken breast with our own backyard vegetables and our charred tomato ready to go.
To keep the fire burning, a side of sweet plantains to complement the tilapia.
You know, Jamaicans, we love ripe plantain, right? We'll be cutting it on the bias again using our kringle cutter. So we're adding the Heights green and gold color to our pot. We're julienne our sweet peppers, and these are sweet pepper, these are not bell peppers. Putting our plantains aside. There you have it, roast tilapia, plantain served with slice of avocado on our fresh vegetable from our backyard.
This is where we close the chapter on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us again tomorrow, the same station, for another that's just as good. Until then, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and more. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson, reminding you to eat what you grow and grow what you eat.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.